Hey everyone, how are you doing? You have Mike here, and today we're taking a look at the BP3000 or the Bloom Plus 3000, whichever way you would like to call it. So I've actually was going to purchase this light straight out just so we could test it on the channel because I've wanted to do it for a while now. And out of the blue, Bloom Plus had sent me a message and asked me if I'd like to test this, and I was just, yes, you read my mind. I was definitely interested in testing this light because I've been suggesting it to people. So based off of reviews of that I heard. So anyways, let's take a look at it, and we'll go over it together, and then we'll take a look at the par and all that other testing and stuff, fun stuff, and we'll come up with a conclusion from there. So let's get started. So this light here is using 1174 Samsung 2835 diodes. So it's not using the LM301Bs, it's using the 2835s, and it's giving you a mix of 3000, 5000K, 660 nanometer deep reds, as well as the 730 IRs in this one. This here is using Dunn drivers. There's two separate drivers, as you can see here, 150 watts a piece. It is dimmable with a screwdriver. If you have a Phillips driver, you can simply dim these drivers down if you wanted to. Although since there's two drivers, it's kind of difficult to know which driver is at what compared to the other one. So keep that in mind as well. So for coverage on this light, they're saying that it gives you a 4x4 veg, and it's going to give you a 3x3 bloom. So when we get into testing, we'll know a little bit more about the par and the coverage. So this light here does have a waterproof coating on it. Hopefully you guys can see the shine here come off the light. That would be the coating. And I think it's just something I wanted to mention because I've taken note. Companies have really kind of got this acrylic down pat now. When we first started seeing these coatings, they were like thick globs, hard to see through. Even when we had the scope, you could barely even like make out the LED. There was just so much. So that definitely killed the par, as well as held in a lot of heat because it was so thick. Nowadays, we're just not seeing that. This is a lot thinner of a coating. I'm not going to say it's more durable because it peels off a little bit easier. I think just being a little bit thinner, but definitely for those other things like par and stuff like that, that's kind of a bonus that it's not as thick. So I'm going to say that that's kind of a good thing that they have they've kind of reduced the thickness of this acrylic coating. So another thing for cooling on this, as you can see, it's just another thin aluminum plate. So we're not really sure how well this is going to do with cooling, but when we get into our testing here, we'll find out. So that's what we're going to do now. We're going to do some par testing. We're going to do this in an open floor par testing. Then we're going to check for heat, as well as check the energy being pulled out of the wall. So let's get into it. Alright guys, so I hope you enjoyed the testing segment. So let's take a look at some of the results that we got. So let's take a look at start off with the wattage draw. So when we did our test, it was pulling 290 watts out of the wall. Not that bad for a 300 watt light. 290 watts is about where I was figured it was going to be pulling anyway. So 290 watts out of the wall. So let's take a look at the par. So we did a couple of different tests. We did a 12-inch test where we got some pretty high numbers. It was up to 1436, 1477 in the middle. Those you see, those are some pretty high numbers, but definitely not usable at that point unless you're really pumping CO2. So this probably isn't where you'd want to have your light ever hung. So don't hang at 12 inches. So 18 inches. Now, remember, we're doing this in open floor testing. So 18 inches would be your recommended hang height if you're doing this in a tent. No problem. If you just take a look at the edges, how it's 204 down the corner and 217. If you had that in a reflective, which we will test, I just don't have the reflective mylar in order to test this right now, and I can't get into my tents because they're just all full of plants. So we'll have to do this as soon as we get our new mylar in, and I will put it on my website at www.growlight.reviews. And from there, you will be able to see the updated par maps. I think we're looking at about 3 weeks now from the time of making this video before it should be in. So just so you guys know, we will put all the par maps and everything up on the website. So even in a open floor, this light came back at a 1.91 humulus to watt. So, I mean, we're probably going to see this at about a 2.1. This is my guess. Probably about a 2.1 at about an 18-inch recommended hang height. And we also did a test at 22 inches, where it kind of gives you an idea if you wanted to veg with this light. You could definitely veg 22 inches above your plants, no problem. So for par-wise, not that bad. It's actually not that bad at all. So let's take a look at the temperatures. Now, the temp testing is where it kind of caught my attention because I find this light runs just too hot. When we start getting into 60 degrees, you have to imagine that the LEDs are running about 30 degrees warmer. That would be way up at about 90 degrees, 91, 92 degrees, and that's at the point where the LEDs start breaking down. So that's pretty warm, guys. We shouldn't be running we shouldn't be running light that hot. And the ambient temperature was actually cooler in here than normal. It was 20 degrees. So if you had that, just imagine if you had this in a room that's 27 degrees, this light would be melting. So you would definitely have to have a fan on this light to keep this thing cool. But remember, we did this on open floor testing here too, so there was no wind or any air blowing on it. So maybe you would get that down a couple degrees, but like I said, once you take into the effect of it was only 20 degrees in here, you have to kind of look at that too. So you would definitely want a fan on this light to keep it cool. I think there's a couple things that the company can do in order to improve that. That would be definitely putting a larger jump here between the gap between the drivers and the board. That would definitely help keep the drivers cool, because the drivers were running at 64 degrees Celsius, which is the warmest we've seen a driver run. So we don't want to see them run that warm. So I would definitely put a larger step gap here. With that, another solution for the company, it would be to possibly add more LEDs to lower the voltage on each LED, lower the temperature of each LED, would overall lower the temperature of the board. Or another thing that they could possibly do is lower the wattage of the drivers. If the light was pulling, 280 watts, it would probably run a little bit cooler. Other than that, guys, fan, if you had a fan running on, it would probably be all right, just to keep it cool, because I've noticed that when you have a fan running on even my other lights that were in the room, they dropped about 10 degrees cooler. Maybe even a little bit more. So that would probably be a good solution to this if you had a fan blowing on. So other than that, guys, the light turned out pretty good. It just ran a little warm. So take that all into consideration. If you guys have any questions, feel free to throw them down in the comments. I'll do my best to answer them. And like I said, we will have more on this light on the website within the next couple of days. And as soon as we get our mylar, we will put in a new par maps on it with the new updated micromole to watt ratio and everything for you guys. So I would like to thank everybody for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And once again, if you guys have any questions, throw them down in the comments. And you guys all have yourself a great day. Take care.